What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. A little bit of a different setup today. Obviously, this isn't something I usually do. Usually, it's a podcast. It's usually live, but now I got Derek Settlemyre, obviously Nasty Knuckles, longtime manager of the Flyers. Nasty, how you doing? Thanks for doing this. Appreciate you coming on.
I'm doing well, brother. How you making out, man? You're doing better now these days. I see the smile back after after a couple weeks. I was worried about you, buddy. That's why I was sending you those texts. You okay, man? Because
Yeah, man.
I know you take it to heart, man, which is awesome, man. You're a true fan, and everybody's smiling a little bit better now. The boys are starting to roll. So good to see you. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, it was a pretty couple tough weeks there for the Flyers. A lot of different things changed. Obviously, 10-game losing streak and couple coaches go, and obviously that can kind of bring a spark to a team. And from someone like you, I've been wanting to ask you this. Somebody like you who was around the team, saw a couple different coaches. How did that kind of, obviously it's different back then, different players and all that stuff. But how do you think that kind of affected the guys to where they said, okay, like let's kind of pick this up here and kind of just pick it up for the next couple games?
Right. Yeah. I went through a few of those, and first of all, you always hate to see someone lose their job. It's not fun, especially when you're on like my side of things with the staff. You become really close with those guys because you deal with them as well as the players. But unfortunately, things just didn't go well last year for whatever reason. You can say COVID, but I mean everybody dealt with that. Dealing with a lot of injuries, which definitely doesn't help this year. The team, losing Ellis, and I mean quite all the injuries we know of: Brassard, Farabee at this point, Thompson, Hazy. It doesn't help, but it seemed like it was probably time for a new voice, and it's kind of cliche. Everyone always says that, but it does make a difference. It's kind of like everyone gets a fresh start, even though Mike Yo's been a head coach. He's been around the team. The guys hear him, but not as a head guy. And you could see by just the way just with some line changes, just like, for instance, I noticed Oscar being out playing with G. Like he's a kid that can really shoot the puck. He's a goal scorer. All of a sudden he has a little bit of confidence now. Scored a couple goals finally. It was good to see him to get off that. JVR's picked it up, but I was a little worried after that Jersey game. That one scared me because that game I thought they would be better.
Yeah.
But they bounced back in Vegas, and they've really the last 3 games. They had a tough game last night, but they've looked way better, like way more cohesive, like in my opinion. So sometimes just that change, every guy's going to handle the room differently. I know Yosi a little bit. I was with him for almost a full year, and I knew guys that have played for him, and they really liked him. And he's kind of a players type coach. He's very approachable.
Yeah.
And not to say that AV wasn't. I'm just saying, like, in knowing him the little that I do, you can see a difference with the guys. And people say they look like they're not trying. That's never the case. I know it does look like that sometimes, but it gets so bad when you've lost that many games. I mean, even when you lose 3 to 4, you start thinking about it every day, and it has a effect on you. And you need to get that one win. I think we talked about that the other day. You get that one win, and they got it in Vegas, and that was a huge one because that's a game where people are probably going, well, they're not going to win there, but they'll probably win in Arizona. But they ran 3 off, and unfortunately they lost last night in a shootout. Could have gone either way. But I think it's made a difference so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from what I've seen, it feels like it's been, it kind of feels like a lot of the things that we have been saying over time of putting certain guys in different spots, like you were saying with Lindblom. Like it doesn't surprise me that guys like Oscar gets his first goal, Brown scores, Sanheim gets his first. Like it doesn't surprise me that these guys are starting to get more chances because they're more confident. They're a big win, and it felt like the way that the Flyers were going to break out of that streak was if Hart was able to seal them a game, and he did. He was
Right.
fantastic in the Vegas game at 41 saves.
Oh, he
Um,
was amazing.
yeah, he was phenomenal, and he has been all year. I mean, he was one of the reasons why last night's game was a lot closer than it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it kind of felt like, their power play, it kind of felt like everything from the power play was creeping into the 5-on-5. And as you know, it just gets into their head, and you're not shooting as
Definitely.
much and everything. Um, how have you kind of seen them, in the last 4 games? Obviously, you mentioned that it's better for them and they play better. Just what are some minor details you've kind of noticed that's just been completely different besides the previous 10 before that?
Well, I think it's funny. Like we joked before. I don't know if you saw when we interviewed uh, Nick Abel, Nick, Cube, Nicholas Cabell, and he was. We always kid around because Michelle Terry would always be like, "Stay connect, stay connect." That was his word, to stay tight. But it now looks like they are. I mean, if you noticed in you know some of the games, they had guys flying the zone, and that was out of character for a lot of some of the players who are doing that. And now it seems like they're kind of sticking together, coming up together in the play. Little things like that I've kind of noticed watching, especially when we were in Arizona. I just felt like they just were a better 5-man unit. And you're right. When your power play is struggling, it definitely creeps in to your 5-on-5, and you're trying to make the perfect play. And you noticed the other night, like with JVR and those goals, it just kind of got greasy, and sometimes you just that's what you have to have. Shoot it off the goalie's pads. It's easy to say. I'm not a coach, I'm not a GM, but been around the game a long time. And the guys would say that, hey, just get it on net, get in front, like take their eyes away, little things like that. And that's what you have to do to get some goals, and they're not going to all be pretty. So I've just kind of noticed how they're coming up in the play together, and they're not leaving each other hanging
Right.
to dry like Carter or Jonesy the last few games. That's what I've noticed.
Right. And it's funny because I know that you were around a lot of guys, that were bigger defensemen, and guys like Coburn, and Gudis was a big guy. How have you liked Ristolainen? Because it's funny that that you've been around those guys that were bigger and things like that. How have you liked kind of Risto throughout the season? Because it felt like that game against New Jersey was one of his best games of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I love what he brings. That's my kind of player. Like I'm an old school type guy, like he just shows up. Yeah, he shows up, he finishes his checks, and he's hard to play against. That's what you would always hear. Like, and I remember honestly guys being like, I hate playing against that guy. Like, because he's hard to play against. And he's probably not gonna drop his gloves and fight, but he doesn't really have to. He's a pain in the ass. And it's not like he doesn't have any skill. He's got a little bit of skill. He can make a play. And I really like. I think, I don't know if I told you this, but I remember in the summer Craig Berube telling me that he really liked that pickup for the Flyers, that he really liked him as a player. He's like, you can't really look at the numbers in Buffalo because it's just been kind of a shit show there, unfortunately, for Buffalo. Hopefully, it's turning around for him. But I really like his play. I love what he brings.
Yeah.
He's a
No, for sure.
flyer to me. He plays like a fly. He's just a hard guy to play against.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what he was. He was last year to the Flyers. I remember many of the games that they played against the Sabres.
Yeah,
They couldn't stand playing against them. And I was like, man, I'd love to have a guy like that. And that's exactly what they did.
You got him.
Yeah. And you
Did
got
you
him.
make that move, Chris? Did you make that move? Tell us.
I was like, yeah, hey Chuck,
Yeah. We
yeah,
need this guy.
yeah, go get him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of things have been better for them. I still think they're kind of getting into that. They're still trying to get that process of everything together of exactly how they want to play. They haven't had many practices under Yo.
Right.
Obviously, we've seen that before. We saw that last year with not having practice and things like that. So I don't want to go too deep into that because at this point of where they are and in the standings, and the separation's starting to get higher and higher and higher for the other teams that are in the top 4 and things like that. They're like handful of points in between. And right now, I think if they could just pick up a couple wins and I'm not saying like 2-3, but it kind of felt like with last night's game, you lose that one, and it kind of feels like, the 3 games before that, it kind of just doesn't really feel like you had a winning streak. You know what I mean? It just feels like you're kind of back to square one. Does that kind of seem the same way for you, or do you see it differently?
Well, I think it's a game you want to win. You're going in there. I listened to Yosi after the game, and he said it perfectly. He's like, I think someone said, "Were you surprised the way they started?" He said, "No, they're a desperate team. Like they needed a win, And in those games, I tell people that all the time. And again, obviously, I didn't play the game, but being around it, like those are hard games to win. The Arizona game, like we were kind of kidding around with Riley and I with some of the people. I'm like, you don't understand how big this win was in Vegas but this next game in Arizona, those are hard games to win because you're expected to win them. And there's not an easy game in this league. But I thought the Flyers played really well in that game. But last night, you have a desperate, desperate team. I thought Primo made some really big saves late.
Yeah, he was very good.
After making a mistake, giving the puck away, he made a hell of a save, getting his left pad back over. But I think the first period really hurt the guys. But at the end of the day, if you really look at it, you say, hey, out of a possible 8 in our last 4, we got 7 points. And if you do that again, you're going to be happy with it, right? Yeah, you want to win that game. You should beat that team. But I don't think you get really down about it. I don't think the boys were. I don't think they're down. I know they got to come back and have another really good effort at home, which they're trying to. It's another thing Yosi said. We want to make sure we come out hard every night at home and make it hard on these other teams. And I think you come back with a win now. Now you're saying 9 out of 10 points, and you're going to take that any day of the week, right?
Yeah.
So it did suck to lose that game, but at the same time, they did get a point out of it. Thank goodness.
Right. Exactly. Right. And if they can take it and not kind of lose that kind of momentum you get from a new coach coming in and just turn it right back around, then that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because obviously you have some tougher games coming up. You have Ottawa tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to take lightly because, again, they are the Senators. They get it, they're young. But they did just beat Tampa Bay 4-0 at home, and they also beat Florida on the road 8-2. Florida, one of the best teams in the league and very good at home. So, obviously, that's nothing to look over. And right now, if they could just kind of take care of business and just pick up a couple wins, I think they'll be okay. But overall, what have you kind of seen from Carter Hart? Obviously he's been really good all year, and just kind of what have your thoughts been on Hartsey throughout the year?
Like it's easy to say. Like I never lost confidence in him because I've been around him since he was 18, and even last year when he's the first guy to tell you he didn't play as well as he can. And talking to him all summer and, golfing and stuff, I just knew, this kid's just he's so mentally tough and he cares so much that I wasn't shocked that he's having the year he's having. This is what I expect out of him for a long time because he's a fucking good goalie, man. And, and Jonesy's playing well too for the Flyers. But Carter, I can't act like I'm shocked. Because I kind of expected it out of him because he expects it out of himself. Obviously, it's not that easy. Yeah, we all expect to be good at what we do, but I just think he's really square. He's had a couple hiccups here and there, but who's not going to have those? There's goals where I'll say to him, "Hey, man, you play really well. I should have had that one." I'm like, "Well, man, yeah, you should have had that one, but you made 10 other saves that were, probably in the net on some goalies." But I'm happy. I'm happy for him and happy for the team because, like you said, some of these games that they did win and some that they did lose could have been a lot worse if he didn't play as well as he did. So just hopefully he keeps it going, which I think he will. And everybody's got to remember, we right around the corner here, Ellis is coming back. Hopefully Beezer's coming back
soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and all of a sudden we're like, hey, we didn't drift too far down.
Too.
Yeah. So, he's playing. So, but to answer your question with Carter, I think he's been great. I know he had a really good summer of work. He worked really hard, and Kim Dillaball went out to see him one time, and they talked about everything, and he just came in with a clear head. And Carter's one of those kids, man. He can have a bad game. By the time he's showered and
It's
dressed,
good.
hey, let's go tomorrow.
Yeah,
And that's, to me, that's huge, especially for a goalie.
right.
You know, and that's what I
Especially
always
him being
notice
so
about him.
young too.
Exactly. He's way beyond his years. Like his mentality and the way he approaches it all. It's actually very impressive when you're around it and you see it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, he looks so calm in net. Like it doesn't matter what's happening. Like that save he had on Yanmark against Vegas, and he's tracking the puck, and then they show the overhead camera, and I was like, holy shit! Like, how the hell does he see it? How does he see that? You know what I mean? Like he just,
No, I know.
yeah, it's incredible. But
Yeah.
so on more of a personal side, how has it been for you with the shop and the new show and all that
Doing
stuff?
doing well. Thanks for asking. Shop busy. That's why I was a couple minutes late. I apologize again. I was
No, it's okay.
just swamped because Riley and I were fortunate enough to link up with fans of Philly, and we went out to Arizona last week.
How
So
was
I
Arizona?
had it was great, man. Beautiful 72. A little chilly at night, but we had a really good time with fans of Philly, man. They do it right, man. And the boys won. I said, well, we just got to start traveling. Hey, look, guys will win. We didn't go to Vegas, but we had a watch party. And it was awesome. It went to the game. It was a great. We had a great time, and we're going again in maybe going to the Islanders game, and then we're definitely going to Nashville.
Nice.
So really pumped up about that, and having fun. You know what it's like. We're having fun on the show, talking to guys, catching up with guys. It's so much fun, man. I had my old man on there this week. Riley was like, "We got to get you down." I'm like, "I don't know, man. It's my dad." He's like, "Dude, his story is ridiculous." Like, and I'm like, "All right, whatever." So, and my dad enjoyed it. So it's a lot of fun, and some cool opportunities are coming for us from it, which I didn't expect, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, Derek, seriously, thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Tell everybody where they can check you out, check out the podcast, things like that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I missed you there. What would you say? Sorry.
Yeah, if you want, you can let everybody know. Check out the podcast where they can follow you.
Oh yeah, nastyknuckles.com. Now we're on YouTube on all platforms. We have a new thing they have us doing. It's called Overtime with Nast and Riggs. It's just a shorter little, basically weekly recap, and usually we have someone call in. So that's been a lot of fun actually as well. So yeah, check it out. And Settlemyre Skate Sharpening. And we got to talk too about the little sponsorship too. I know we've been kind of going back and forth with that. So I appreciate you, brother. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks again. Remember, guys, podcast articles, those links are on my channel. Remember to check out Butt Ends. You can use code PHI for 10% off. And also check out Garrett Group Construction for any home improvement needs. And I will talk to you all again soon.